Welcome back to Nighthawk Films, everyone. My name is Ian Allen, and today I am doing another episode of my Pokemon team if I was in the anime. Now, I know it's almost been about a year since the last episode came out, and almost a year before that one, but I want to continue these last two episodes because I know some people might have been waiting for them. For this episode, we are going to be basically going over everything that would have been Pokemon Journeys for the anime. So, this will be my adventures through the Galar region, you could say. My journey through the Galar region, aka Pokemon Journeys. When we last left off, our character had become champion of Alola, and he was already champion of Kalos. He was now the champion of two regions. He is doing something that most anime characters in Pokemon do not really do. He ages. By the end of his journey in Alola, my character is 15 years old. So, at the beginning of this series, about 2 years has passed. So my character is 17 years old, and it's right around here he begins to learn about the Pokemon World Champion Coronation Champion series. I don't remember exactly what it was called. I don't remember watching most of Pokemon Journeys. But I think that's what it was called anyway. So he learns about this Pokemon World Champion series, and he figures, you know what, he wants to compete. He wants to see how far he can go with it. So he decides to enter and start doing some battles to try and level up his status and hopefully make it to the top. During his adventures through the Kanto region once again to try and get to the top, he ended up going down by Cinnabar Island to find some Pokemon. He ended up finding a wild Dratini stuck in the rocks, decided to help it out and catch it, making it a part of his team now. Also, while he was going on to different areas, he ended up coming across a wild Eevee, catching it for himself, thinking that this Pokemon could be evolving into something that could be very, very strong. One day, while my character was resting back up at home, he ended up getting a call from the champion of the Sinnoh region, Cynthia. The call was her talking about something going on at the top of a mountain, that some strange ancient energy was leaking out, and she was hoping that I could fly all the way to Sinnoh to potentially help her out deal with this problem, whatever it was. So, my character headed off straight to the Sinnoh region and was helping out Cynthia with some strange mystical energy from the past. When Cynthia and I got to the top of the mountain, there was a strange portal that was going to some strange dimension. So Cynthia and I went through, and there were Pokemon in there that I had never seen before, but they looked similar. While we were there, we ended up leveling up our Dratini to evolve into a Dragonair, and I came across some type of Pokemon egg. It looked like a basic Pokemon egg, so I decided to take it for myself. Even Cynthia agreed I should have taken it to get it out of this strange, dangerous place. So I took it, and we left. After we got done with our little adventure in this other dimension, Cynthia asked me if I was entering the Pokemon World Champion series. I told her I was, and I'm glad that she called me, because now I have this Pokemon egg. Depending on what it hatches into, it could be really, really strong. She tells me that she's entering in this tournament as well, and it started to get me really pumped up to actually fight her in the tournament if I can make it there. So, I told her that I was heading off to the Galar region next because that's where the tournament is being held, and I figured I could get some training in while I was there. But I had to fly there, and the only way I could get there was by airplane, so we just took off. Although halfway through our trip to Galar, we had to make a quick stop in Unova. The plane was experiencing some problems that we had to just take care of, so we ended up landing in Unova for a little while, and they said it might take a couple days for the plane to get fixed, so I figured I might as well just explore Unova for a little while, and they said that they would call me whenever the plane was back up and running, so I went to go explore Unova. While exploring the Unova region once again, I ended up making my way back to Castiel City because it said there was a trainer there I could battle. When I got there, the city was overrun with Venipede, using Poison Sting and String Shot and doing all kinds of different things that were causing the city's people in danger. So I figured, you know what, I gotta help out. I don't know what I could do, but then I realized I have a Scolipede. I go to the nearest Pokemon Center, ask Professor Oak, and see if he can send over Scolipede to help me out. He does, and I bring Scolipede out, and all the Venipede look at Scolipede. And I think to myself, what is going to happen here? Is this going to be good or bad? They all begin to swarm Scolipede in praise of him, and they all seem to take a little bit of a liking to this Pokemon. And I wondered why. Why would they want to, be around my specific Scolipede? Well, I think it had something to do with how strong it looked and how strong it actually was. The Venipede led us back to their home where there were a bunch of Beartic just, destroying everything and eating their food. And it looked like the Venipede had been pushed out of their homes by this wild group of Beartic. Scolipede and I battled Beartic, and we ended up getting rid of them, and they fled and left Venipede's home. But I then realized Scolipede needed to stay here to protect these other Venipede. And I know that we had been through a lot, so because we traveled through Unova together. So I said, you know what, Scolipede, you have to protect these Pokemon. You have to protect all these Venipede, and make sure that no other Pokemon causes them any harm, and you need to be their leader. I released my Scolipede back into the wild as we said our goodbyes. I then headed off back to the airport because they said that the plane was ready to go so we could head off to Galar. While on my way back, I ended up coming across another type of bug Pokemon that could be useful in the coming battle that we have against these champions in the World Champion Series. I ended up coming across a Pokemon named Sewaddle, and I figured, you know what, maybe this could be a good change of pace, maybe a good replacement for a Unova bug. So I ended up catching the little Sewaddle and making him a part of my team for a little while. While on our way back to the airport, I could feel that the egg was moving and it started cracking. It was hatching. And when it hatched into some type of Growlithe. I'd never seen a Growlithe like this before. Since I'm from Kanto, I kind of know what Growlithe looked like. But this one did not look like a normal Growlithe. And the Pokédex said it was not really registered, or said it was an older version of Growlithe, an ancient version of Growlithe. So I didn't really know what to think of it. While on our way back, I ended up getting a notification saying that the plane needed more repairs for some reason. So I figured, you know what, we got more time to kill, might as well battle some more trainers and try to get a little bit stronger. We battled a few more trainers, and Sewaddle evolved into Swadloon. I ended up fighting another trainer who gave me an Ice Stone as a reward, and I figured, you know what? I have an Eevee, might as well evolve into Glaceon, get an actual Ice type. Also, while we were exploring the Unova region, we ended up coming across a wild Shinx. It was chained to a stake in the middle of the woods. So I quickly went over to it, took the chain off, and Shinx did not seem to hesitate. Shinx didn't really want to fight back. So I took it with us, then we made our way back to the airport, and we left for Galar. Once we landed in the Galar region, I ended up taking Shinx to a Pokemon Center to get healed up. Once Shinx was all healed up, we went and did some more battles to see how strong it was. Eventually, it was able to level up and evolve into Luxio, a very powerful Luxio. Then, Dragonair was able to grow into a super strong Dragonite. With this team, I was starting to build. I'm like, you know what? I feel a little confident. Okay, maybe we could do this. Maybe we could level up a little bit more, obviously. I was trying to use new Pokemon from this journey I was on. I didn't want to rely on my old Pokemon. While we were doing some more training, I ended up coming across a Grookey. Grookey is known to be one of the grass starters of the Galar region, so I figured I'd make it a part of my team. Unfortunately, I had to swap out Swadloon, because I feel like Grookey could become something powerful. We just continued going on from there. While we were going through Galar and battling a few trainers here and there, trying to get our ranks up a little bit, we actually met a man named Leon, and he was the #1 champion of this World Champion Tournament. He was ranked #1. He was at the top. He was the goal. We actually met him, he gave us a few tips and pointers that we could probably do to maybe get a little bit stronger, because he wanted to fight a strong opponent, because, you know, it gets lonely at the top. So he decided to send us to a place called the Isle of Armor. He said he did some training there when he was younger and thought it could help me. So I headed over to the Isle of Armor, and I ended up coming across this old man. This old man said he maybe could help me, or could try to improve my fighting spirit. I did a few missions and quests and completed them properly, and a Pokemon named Cubfu wanted to join me on my adventures. So I'm like, okay, I've never heard of this Pokemon before, but it looks powerful and it looks like it can evolve into something powerful. And the old man was telling me that Cubfu is a Pokemon that is very loyal to its trainer, depending on what fighting style it has. It has either a rapid fighting style or a single strike fighting style. So with this thought in mind, I found a way to try and evolve this Pokemon, but I had to do battles at a specific battle tower to make it evolve. But once we had Cubfu on our team, I thought that this could actually be pretty good for us. Maybe we actually got a really strong Pokemon that's going to help us. I ended up battling a few more trainers, and one of them gave me a Firestone. But I'm like, wait a minute, would this Growlithe still operate the same way that I know a regular Growlithe to do? So I gave it the Firestone, and it evolved into an Arcanine. Arcanine was normally a fire type, but this Arcanine was a fire and rock type. Granted, this specific Arcanine was found in an egg that was in that strange dimension Cynthia and I visited a while back in Sinnoh. So who knows where this thing is actually from. Over the next couple weeks, we did some more training. Grookey evolved into Thwackey, which was pretty great, but Thwackey and Cubfu started to form a bond. We went back to one of the battle towers, and Thwackey actually evolved into Rillaboom while we were doing some training there specifically for Cubfu. Eventually, when we got to the end of the tower, Cubfu did evolve itself into a Pokemon called Urshifu into the single strike form. We did some more training, leveled up a little bit more. We're like, okay, it's time for the Masters 8. We had finally made it into the top 8 with this team. Now, at this point, I was still pretty hesitant about what was going to happen. Granted, my first match was up against Steven from the Hoenn region, so the battle was set. It was a 3-on-3. I throw out Rillaboom, he throws out Cradily. We do a little bit of damage here and there. Rillaboom has Cradily on the ropes. I figure since it's a fossil Pokemon, it has the rock type, so grass should be really effective against it. But then Steven decides to bring it back Cradily and send it his shiny Metagross, his ace. Metagross is really fast and makes real quick work of Rillaboom, knocking it out. I then decide to bring out Dragonite. And I think, you know what, maybe Dragonite can do it. But then he recalls Metagross and brings out Aggron. But my Dragonite had Water Tail and knocked out his Aggron. Steven has now decided to recall out Cradily, but since both Cradily and Dragonite have taken damage, they both knock each other out. So now it's time for both our aces. His shiny Metagross versus my ace Blastoise. The time had come for both of these champions to use a specific gimmick, Mega Evolution. Mega Blastoise versus Mega Metagross. Fortunately, my Blastoise was stronger, and it knocked out Steven's Metagross, moving me up in the ranks. My next opponent was Cynthia, though, the champion of the Sinnoh region, and I've battled her before. She's very tough, but this will be a full 6-on-6 battle from here on out. I decided to bring out Dragonite, she brings out Roserade. My Dragonite makes quick work of her Roserade with a swift Hurricane. Then she decides to bring out a Pokemon known as Togekiss. Togekiss is a fairy-type Pokemon and is easily able to take out Dragonite with a simple Moonblast. I decide it's time to bring out a new Pokemon of mine, Glaceon. Glaceon and Togekiss do a little bit of some battling here and there, back and forth, but then Cynthia recalls Togekiss and brings out Gastrodon. Gastrodon then uses a Muddy Water to take out Glaceon, knocks it out. So I'm thinking, who's next? Right. I then bring out Rillaboom. Rillaboom should be very effective against Gastrodon being a water and ground type. He uses Drum Beating, and it knocks out Gastrodon. Rillaboom's doing pretty good for this tournament so far. Our next Pokemon she brings out is a Ghost-type Pokemon known as Spiritomb. They battle a little bit here and there, but then Spiritomb uses Destiny Bond, so if Rillaboom knocks out Spiritomb, it also knocks out Rillaboom, making it a double KO, leaving us with only 3 Pokemon left. Cynthia then decides to bring out Milotic, while I bring out Urshifu. Urshifu, being the single strike Pokemon, makes real quick work of her Milotic. I then decided to recall Urshifu and save him for later. We bring out our aces, Blastoise and Garchomp. Unfortunately, her Garchomp is way stronger than my Blastoise, so that did not go the way I thought. She then decides to recall her Garchomp, saving her ace for later, and instead brings out Togekiss while I bring out my Arcanine. Showing her the full power of this rock dog, he takes out Togekiss, leaving her with just Garchomp. She brings back Garchomp and makes quick work of my Arcanine. Then, it's just up to Urshifu. So, it's time to do some more gimmicks. She uses Mega Evolution, and I use Dynamax. Gigantamax Urshifu versus Mega Garchomp does not go the way she thought it would. With Urshifu taking the win, we beat Garchomp, and now we have made it to the final, and it's now our fight up against Leon. This could go either way. The strongest champion of the world, Leon, was about to fight me for the title of world champion. I didn't know who he was going to throw out, so we both ended up throwing out Rillaboom. Okay, Rillaboom versus Rillaboom. Unfortunately, his Rillaboom has way more experience than mine does. Let's just say it does not go well for my Rillaboom. After losing Rillaboom, I only have 5 Pokemon left, while he still has 6. I think, who should I bring out? But then, Leon decides to bring back Rillaboom and throws out Inteleon. I throw out Glaceon, not a good matchup. His Snipe Shot is easily able to take out my Glaceon. I then bring out Dragonite. I needed Dragonite to use Hurricane and Dragon Claw, made quick work of Inteleon. His next Pokemon was the Dragon Pseudo-Legendary of Galar, Dracopult. Both these Dragon types, go head to head here and there. But eventually, this was probably the best possible outcome. They knock each other out. Leon then throws out Mr. Rime, I throw out my Arcanine. Mr. Rime freezes the battlefield while Arcanine uses his Rock Claws to dig into the ice and fire a flamethrower from long distance, knocking out the Ice Dancer. It was then time for Leon to bring out his next Pokemon, Cinderace. I decide to recall my Arcanine and bring out Urshifu. Urshifu is able to make quick work of his Cinderace, getting in close and landing it with a single strike. Now, Leon was down to 2 Pokemon, and he then brings out Rillaboom. Rillaboom and Urshifu go head to head, back and forth, blow for blow, but eventually knocking each other out. Now, it was time. Leon's strongest Pokemon partner, Charizard. So I figured, you know what? Arcanine, let's go. Unfortunately, even though it being a rock type, that doesn't matter to Leon's Charizard. Knocks Arcanine out. I then bring out Blastoise. And now it's time for a special battle. Gigantamax Charizard versus Gigantamax Blastoise. Our aces go back and forth, but water being strong against fire, Blastoise takes the win. With this victory, we had now become the world's strongest champion. The world's strongest trainer, if anything. With this team, we were crowned, and we decided, you know what? Let's take a little bit of a break for a while. So we head back to Kanto, where we see all of our Pokemon. I thank you all for being the Pokemon that I had and being a part of my team. I could not have gotten to this specific point in my journey without any of these Pokemon. They are my friends and they are my companions. Well, that does it for this next episode of My Pokemon Team If I Was in the Anime. Hope you guys liked it. I know that this one was probably a little bit different than what some people thought it was going to be, but I tried to make it similar to what Ash's journey in Pokemon Journeys was, where he went to different regions, caught different Pokemon here and there. I feel like my team was pretty unique, kind of like Ash's was, so I figured, you know what, since my team is unique, his team is unique, it's kind of balanced a little bit. My story could have probably been a little bit better, but I kind of like the way it turned out. Granted, because it's my story, but granted, other people might not like it. And let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this series, and if you know, what could have been done differently, or if you like the team I chose. I wanted to just have six Pokemon, including my starter, be on the team. So we're not done yet. We still have one more region to go through, and that region is Paldea. But that specific one, I already have a story in mind for, and I hope you guys like it. So with that being said, that's going to be it for today's episode of my Pokemon team if I was in the anime. Remember to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next adventure.